Hello, and welcome to yet another episode of V-Gaming, starring me, the Saverings. This has been going back and forth and bouncing back and forth ever since that leak. I believe I covered it here on this channel last week when it kind of happened. Not a leak, but a little innocent mistake maybe, when Microsoft at a game developer conference was showing off a mock-up of their new Xbox/PC whatever UI. And there was a filter that you could sort your games library by. One of those filters was Steam. Well, that was after The Verge noticed it, they asked Microsoft about it. And Microsoft quickly pulled it down and changed the image. That doesn't feature that anymore. But the cat's out of the bag. We're not sure if it's going to happen, if that was just a mock-up, or if it was even a leak to begin with, or whatever the case may be. But that's been the talk of the town this whole time. And PlayStation fans are stunned. Or just people in general. I'm stunned too. But the question that's coming up a lot is, why would Microsoft ever do that? It doesn't make any sense. Isn't that going to hurt their market? Isn't that going to hurt their sales? And I'm sitting here thinking, how? I believe I was watching Oh No, It's Alex, and he kind of covered this on a video that came out today, I believe. And he said how basically his copy of Windows, he paid $25 for it, for a Windows 7 key, and it was his Windows 7. Well, he got upgraded to 10 from 7, and he's had 10 this whole time, and he's just recently upgraded from 10 to 11, all for that $25 key. Meanwhile, the whole while on his PCs, he's been downloading and buying games from Steam. He's been downloading and buying games from GOG. Taking the free game every now and then from Epic Game Store, or at least at the beginning, like most of us were. He's been running mods, he's been running emulation, and all Microsoft ever made off of him was part of that $25 he paid for Windows 7. Microsoft's not in it for the reasons why you think. Okay, I'll put it to you this way. Just because they're not doing it in lockstep the way that they've always done it and the way that traditional consoles have always done it. And to quote, this Last Stand Media, this is Colin Moriarty. If you watch his video, I couldn't get through it because it's so locked in the past. And for someone who covers this industry to not know that things are changing, to not have any idea how PC gaming works. And I'm not picking on him in particular. This kind of goes across the board. This is the whole reason why I have this channel in the first place, why I've been posting stuff to it lately. Is because I hear so many holes in people's logic, and I just yell at the screen like, no, it's because XYZ, or, oh, you forgot this thing. So I kind of made this channel to go back and kind of fill in those gaps. And I'm sure I missed stuff too. So I'm going to need somebody to fill in my gaps as I'm filling in other people's gaps. That'd be meta as fuck. So if you want to do that in the comments, as well as follow me on Twitter, even though I don't really post anything over there. I kind of lurk, but one of these days I'll get better at posting when I post videos. And if you want to follow me on our Steam group, once we hit 100 subs, I believe we're up to 98 right now, I'll do a giveaway, a game giveaway. And I have a ton of leftover Humble Bundle keys, and these are for pretty good games too. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, feel free to go right ahead. I think I'm 2 subs short, and your name will be entered into the drawing, and your odds are pretty good, because a lot of my subscribers are people that subscribed to me like years and years ago, family, friends. They don't really watch my content, so they will probably turn down my game. So your odds are pretty good. If you want to get me to 100, you'll automatically be drawn, and you'll probably get to battle against maybe 40 other people for a free game. Those odds are pretty good for a YouTube giveaway, so just consider doing that. Yeah, so follow us on the Steam group, and winners will be announced on there and here on YouTube. Where all this comes together is, and I say it's nothing but a net positive for Microsoft, because the situation I just explained, that oh no, it's Alex just explained, I'm the same way too. I was subscribed to Game Pass for a long while, and I had it for both my Xbox Series S and my PC. For me personally, I wasn't really using it all that much, only because I was stuck on a couple of games. I'm one of the classic PC gamers that plays older games, and the games I play are, I pretty much play the same games. I do branch off and play newer games as they pop up here and there, but my tried and trues, Final Fantasy XIV, Vampire Survivors, and Baldur's Gate 3. Those are kind of like my defaults. That's what I play when I'm playing. I do branch out and play other games. I was juggling 3 or 4 JRPGs. I still haven't beaten Control. I used to be quite the Stellaris player, but they changed it up so much I kind of like gave up on that game. If I do play it, I'm gonna roll it back a couple of updates and play it. But it's overall a net positive for Microsoft. Because think about it. What's the big console knock for people when people say to switch over to PC? What do people always say? You need like a $3,000 PC to get the same performance as a blah, blah, blah. Well, what if I told you that you could get the same performance on a $600 or $700 PC as you could on a PlayStation Pro? Even maybe for less than that, if you buy used parts or you order stuff from AliExpress, you can get something that's comparable and straight up beats a PS5 Pro for $600-700 for the same price. You can do that. How about a console that would have the same performance as whatever the PS6 or whatever is going to be for $500 that gives you access to your Steam library? And with AI upscaling and whatever Zen 4 cores and RDNA 3.5 or whatever they have in this next one, you can get comparable console performance from, like, let's say the PS5 Pro and up for $500. And it's an Xbox. And here's the thing. The vast majority of people who buy it are never going to mess with, let's say they do like a dual boot thing where it's like the Steam Deck, where the Steam Deck's got the SteamOS shell, so it looks and plays like an Xbox, it looks and plays like a PlayStation. It's got like that console shell to it, the UI, but you can also boot into desktop mode and do all your desktop things. Most people are not even going to bother. It's the same thing on the Steam Deck. Most Steam Deck users don't even go to the desktop mode, so it'd be even more the case on the Xbox. So to your average Xbox user, they're just going to play regular Xbox games on it. Now, the thing I see bopping around, and this isn't anything confirmed by Microsoft, this is all conjecture, this is all coming from mostly the Ponies. No one on the PC side has even said anything about this, because we kind of like get the vision, right? But let's say they move all Xbox development over to x86 and AMD 64, and they use Win32 or whatever it was for their emulation for doing like Xbox 360 and OG Xbox games for emulation for backwards compatibility. That in essence would mean to make a Windows and or an Xbox version, it's the same thing. So your x86 Windows version of a game would be your Xbox version of a game. But playing it on the Xbox through the Xbox UI, it would have presets. So you'd have your performance and your quality, your mode, with settings already set by the developers. But let's say you sign into Steam and you start playing the Steam version of the same game, you'd have all those same options, which would let you dig down to the metal and have all your PC options that you could customize and have on your Xbox. So it'd be no different for the people that buy it and just play it as a regular console. But for people like me that have a Steam account and would much prefer to buy and play those games on Steam, having the new Xbox will let me do that. Now, I know you're saying, oh, you probably already got a PC, and I do. I have 2 very decent PCs that are already probably better than whatever the next consoles are going to be. The one I'm on right now is an i9, but granted it's a Skylake X i9 from like 2019. It's 10-core, 20-thread, and I have a 3080. That's already more powerful than the Pro will ever be. My backup computer over here, I have a R7 2700X with a 2080 Super in it. Already pretty beefy. It actually, ironically, runs some games better than my current computer does. Some games. It's really strange. Or it runs them just the same. There's no difference between the two. But you're wondering, like, why would I get that? Because I like games. I have a PS5 sitting right here. I got my Xbox Series S sitting behind me. Neither one's plugged in. I have 2 Switches. I have my kid's Switch and my own Switch sitting right here. I have a Steam Deck. And I have a GPD WinMax 2 handheld right over here too. So I like my hardware. And I am willing to buy it if it's cool and if it's novel. Right now, if the average person were to ask me, hey, I'm not really into video games, I want to jump into it, what should I get? My top 2 recommendations: an Xbox Series S with Game Pass and the base Steam Deck. And the base Steam Deck I would offer to people that I know aren't really going to be playing like the most mainstream of mainstream games, because some of them aren't really going to work. Like if you want to play Call of Duty multiplayer, or if you want to play Fortnite, I would say get the Series S. If those two games don't really matter all that much to you playing online, I would say get the Steam Deck. But the Steam Deck also doesn't support Game Pass and stuff like that. So it depends. If you're more hacky and you think like PC stuff would more interest you, I would say get the Steam Deck. If you don't really care and you just want to be into video games, starting off, get your feet wet, the Series S is the way to go. And if all this comes to fruition, let's say that, because this is all conjecture, nothing serious. Although there is rumored that there's a new Asus handheld that's coming out, and they're going to use that as a test bed to see what ideas work and what don't for their future consoles and their future handhelds. That's the rumor, at least. None of this is confirmed or mentioned by Microsoft at all. This is all conjecture. This is what the streets be talking the last week, right? But let's say that's true. Let's say Epic Game Store, itch.io. For those that don't know what itch.io, ask your kids. Actually, go look over your kid's shoulder. If they're not playing Roblox or Fortnite, they're playing itch.io probably. That's just a website with a bunch of games, and you play them all through your browser. If it plays itch.io, if it plays Epic Game Store, if it plays Steam, and it plays regular Xbox titles, including Game Pass, that would be a no-brainer. That would be a no-brainer. If they offered up that flexibility backwards to put that on the Series S and Series X, the Series S would be even more of a stronger proposition. Then you could actually scrape the metal in a Series S and get the most out of it. If you could play your Steam version, the Steam versions of games on a Series S would slap. Because then you could just set everything to like 1080p with a little FSR and set it for like 40 FPS. Series S would slap at that point. I think it'd be an amazing system at that point. So, how does it benefit Microsoft? First of all, let's just start this. Don't worry about how it benefits Microsoft. You know what? Let's take a look-see. Microsoft stock. Let's see. Market cap. $2.84 trillion. This is really going to hurt Microsoft. How's Xbox going to make any money? $2.84 trillion is their market cap. Okay? Don't worry about Microsoft's pockets. All right? Meanwhile, you're not even concerned about Sony. Let's take a look. Sony stock. $25 a share as compared to $382 a share. Market cap of $2.84 trillion. Market cap of $154 billion. You should be worried about what PlayStation's doing. Don't worry about this. You're worried about this and not this. Pathetic. $25 a share. Okay? CD Projekt Red is worth more than that per share. Okay? Almost $3 trillion. You know what? What's the math? I was going to do 2.840 trillion. That's million. That's billion. That's trillion. Look how many zeros that is. Look how many zeros that is, but you're worried about their pockets. And we're going to divide that by 154,000 million. Right? 154 million billion. Microsoft could buy all of Sony 184 times. And you're worried about Xbox's pocket. Okay? There'll be more details on that, but that's just for context, okay? So stop worrying about that. You should worry about what it means for you, the consumer. Okay? The idea of Steam on Xbox, while seemingly disruptive, could potentially benefit Xbox by expanding game library and potentially attracting new players, yes, while also presenting challenges for Microsoft's own ecosystem and digital. Don't worry about them. This whole time, right, As mentioned before, oh no, it's Alex and other players, right? You bought your copy of Windows once a decade ago, and you're still updating Windows from that. You bought all your games on Steam and Good O Games and Epic Game Store, of which Microsoft got no profit. Do you know where they make their money on Windows? It's mostly from selling your information and your habits to users and to enterprise, because enterprise pays a heftier license. So enterprise, businesses, server farms, cash registers, shit like that, right? They pay a heftier fee. You know, on your PC, if you pay more than $20-25 for a Windows license, you're doing it wrong. If you're Dell, you're probably paying less per license because you're blowing out computers. And, you know, you've got an office park full of Windows computers, but you're buying tens of thousands of those licenses at a time, right? The price of those licenses is dependent upon the ecosystem and how many more of those licenses are in the wild, right? So let's say you had Bill's operating system, and 10 people in the world had your operating system installed. The most you could charge, let's say, is $10 for it, let's say. But a Bill's operating system, you know, we're just throwing out numbers. But a Bill's operating system was installed on like 90% of the world's computers. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of computers. You can get away with charging a little bit more for it, right? You at that point, you could say your operating system's a little bit more. If your operating system is on 1 billion devices versus on 10 devices, you can get away with charging a little bit more for that license, right? It's in the name of Xbox. Are we familiar with APIs and such? So, here's an operating system, right? Here's your OS. And your OS is made up of different parts. Here's your kernel, which is like your base code here in the middle. All your basic things that tie every version of your operating system together. That singular thing that it all branches off from. Well, part of that for Windows, these are APIs, right? And APIs, for layman terms, are little packets that are built-in features of your operating system. In a Windows case, one such API is called DirectX. And what DirectX does, anytime you run anything on Windows that has anything to do with 3D graphics, 3D rendering, anything like that, it activates this DirectX API, and that's how that 3D thing talks to Windows and vice versa. That's how Windows knows what to draw, what it's seeing, what it's looking at, and it knows what to output to you, and that's how they talk back and forth. So whether you're doing stuff in 3D Max to design, whether you're running a game, whether you're watching a YouTube video, whether you're doing anything like that, right? Photo editing, video editing, anything like that. It all activates DirectX, and DirectX tells it what to do, and blah, 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 back and forth to Windows, blah, blah, blah. Well, to make this one component more valuable, and therefore make your entire rest of your operating system more valuable, you need more units, like I just explained, right? So let's say at the time of the first Xbox, Windows was on, let's say, 500 million PCs. So here's 500 million PCs, right? So to charge more for this, you're going to want more. Yes, it's growing as they make more PCs and more people get PCs and blah blah blah. It's growing anyway on its own, right? Here's that growth on its own. Well, what if we can add more stuff to it? So we got Windows phones. We got TV sticks. You know, this plugs into the back of your TV. We got like set-top boxes that run Windows that you might have hooked up underneath your TV. Stuff like that. Well, how about a video game console? Here it is. Here's the OG Xbox. There's the Duke. You know, there's the OG Xbox, you know, with the lines in the front. And where do you think the name Xbox comes from? It's a box that sells DirectX, dum-dums. Right? Are you guys with me still so far? Okay. And I'm saying dum-dums. I'm not calling you stupid. I'm just throwing it out there, right? So if we look at Microsoft's revenue, This is from 2023 as reported in 2024. This is the most recent one I can find like this. So we look, here's a visualizer if we look at Microsoft's revenue. So Microsoft Azure, their cloud computing services, $80 billion of revenue. They make almost as much off of this as all of Sony is worth. Microsoft Office 365, $50 billion. Here we go, Windows 11. And keep in mind, Windows is what Microsoft was built on. DOS and Windows. It's now in third. LinkedIn, $15 billion. Xbox, $15 billion. Think how much this is, or think how much this has jumped now, and I'll show you how much this has jumped because I do have a newer one. This is just a visualizer. There's not a more current visualizer. Copilot, wow, really? 12 billion? Okay. For a total revenue of 211 billion. Their revenue was higher by 60 something billion dollars than all of Sony's market cap. Okay, just keep that in mind. Right? You still with me? So here we are. This is for fiscal year 2023. Quarter 4. Isn't that the same as this? $2023. Gaming consoles. 7% revenue. Yeah. Xbox and LinkedIn were about the same. Well, this looks newer because if you come here, and these are their divisions. They got productivity and business, intelligent cloud, and more personal computing. If you click on the more personal computing, underneath that, and you scroll down here, you will see gaming. Gaming, 2023. Here it is, 15 billion. Where is those updated numbers? I swear I saw some updated numbers. This is for 2023. Just behind Windows at 21, rounded up 22 billion. Where are those numbers I seen? Oh, here we go. So Google, they have the more updated one. But when you click, it gives you that previous one I showed you. But these are the more updated ones. Now look at gaming. Windows is up $1 billion. And gaming is up $6 billion. So here it is at 8.8%. It was 7%. Remember when we saw it last time? And operating systems was 10%. So it went up about $1 billion, but overall went down 0.5%. I don't know how that happens. But it went up 1.8% over the last year. Went from 15 billion to 21. It's closing in on Windows. Xbox is about to make more. Their gaming is about to make more than Windows. That's insane, bro. And LinkedIn is probably still down here somewhere. So it passed LinkedIn. Look at that. Windows. So 9.5 and 8.8%. So by attracting people to your platform, you therefore can collect more information on them. Therefore, you can sell and make more intelligent business propositions. So having Steam on your Xbox, the vast majority of people who get it, they're still going to use the Xbox store and buy it as usual. So that's not going to hurt them. If they do end up going and using Steam on their Xbox, that's only going to make Windows, because don't forget, Xbox runs on Windows, remember? Xbox runs on Windows, right? We're going to do it up here, Windows. Xbox runs on Windows. That's going to make your operating system more valuable, so you can charge more for it because you have more Windows devices. People are like, oh, they only sold 30 million Xboxes. One, when is selling 30 million of anything a bad thing? And two, they sold 50 million Xbox Ones. That's 80 million Windows devices. That makes Windows itself more valuable. Okay? That makes DirectX more valuable. That makes everything they bother, or everything anyone else bothers to put on Windows, which is the vast majority of the things, makes Windows more valuable. Okay? So buying that Xbox, if it gives you any reason to buy an Xbox, that makes Windows more valuable. Just by default. That's how it works. And that's more information for them to gather so they can charge more to sell that later. That's why you get the Microsoft points. They reward you for sharing your information. Okay? You know what? Is that why my Microsoft points don't ever bother to go up? I should go in there and change those settings. So I've been stuck at 900 something points like forever. I should go in there and change those settings so I can earn more Microsoft points. And because that'll pay for your Game Pass. So here's something interesting too. So we're going to look here on Steam. We're going to go to stats. Now this is for developers, right? We're going to go down here, and they just happen to let you use this. And we're going to look at their hardware survey. We're going to look at which ones are the most popular. So here we are at Windows, 97.58%, and it's up 1%. 97.58% of all Steam installs are Windows, which leaves less than 1% Mac OS and almost 2% Linux. That's pretty good. And that's mostly Steam Decks. So they're already benefiting off of this. People that make video games and they buy information from Microsoft when they're doing their market research and they're seeing like what's out there and what platform and what they should order and what kind of stuff they should be making. The fact that the largest PC gaming platform in the world is 98% dependent upon Windows makes Windows that much more valuable. And when you add this number to the number of Xboxes out there, to the number of Rogue Allies out there, to the number of Steam decks that people installed Windows on, when you add that to your WinGPD little handheld PCs, when you add that to whatever else, your Fire Stick or whatever TV stick has a Windows kernel on it, it makes Windows that much more valuable, which is worth way more than selling games. It's worth way more than selling games. Okay? And then let's say, oh no, a fifth of the people who bought the next Xbox bought it because they can run Steam. So you're going to come to Steam, make Steam worth more, which in turn is going to make Windows worth more. And let's say they come here and they go, oh, I can play the PC version of Forza. Actually, we're going to just go to Xbox. Xbox Game Studio, 70 games. Let's say they go, oh, you know what? I'm going to buy the PC version of Avowed instead of the Xbox version. And people are going, oh, that's so bad for Microsoft. Guess what? They're still going to make 70% off this. And that'll be a sale that the person normally wouldn't have made. Or maybe they own, let's see. What's this? This is like Civ, huh? What? Another Civ game. Okay, that's cool. Let's say they already own Forza. Let's say they already own Forza Horizon 5 on Xbox, but they want that Steam version because the Steam version is going to let you go in and tweak all the settings and dig down to the metal of your new Xbox console instead of just giving you the presets that they have on here. They have pretty good settings on here, but with that Steam version, you can really dig in and really fine tune it and get the game really working. And because you have to sign in with the, well, you don't have to, but because you can sign in with an Xbox account, all your progress from your Xbox version is going to carry over into this version and vice versa, since those two accounts will be linked. So why wouldn't you? If you have an Xbox, you know you can go and get the more premium edition of all the Xbox games and carry over your saves and your progress between Steam and your Xbox if you sign in through an Xbox account on your Steam version. So why wouldn't you? And it'd be cheaper on here. And they could stagger it out. So when there's a sale on Steam, they can run a little sale. And then when there's not a sale on Steam, they can run a big sale on Xbox. So there's sale, and they're just selling games. PC, Xbox, Epic Game Store, Good Old Games, do. They could just keep. There could constantly be sales going on. And they're just boom, 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 around the clock, around the bin. Boom, 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 and you're moving copies. And it all just plays on one box. Not your $3,000 PC you need, but your $500 Xbox. Which is going to be very competitive performance-wise. In case you guys haven't been seeing, there's that Rogue Ally tablet that's out right now. That's got like a 12-core, 24-thread Ryzen 5 APU in it. And it's got like Ryzen 3.5. Wait till you start putting not Ryzen the RDNA 3.5 AI GPU in it that rivals like a 4060 in a handheld tablet form factor. You wait till they start putting RDNA 4 in those things. That's probably what that next Xbox and probably what the PS6 are going to be. They're probably going to be like Ryzen 4, Ryzen 5 with RDNA 4 in them, with AI to like fill in the gaps, right? Like your fake frames and stuff. But for handhelds and small form factor things like consoles, that's kind of excusable because lower power profile and thermals, you want to keep that down. So it makes more sense. And a desktop, you don't really need all that kind of stuff. It's kind of a cop out in a desktop. From the mid range up. If you're running an older machine or if you're running a budget machine with a budget card in it, that's a different story. Like a Steam Deck, or like my little handheld, FSR and stuff is fantastic. But if you're playing like on your big actual desktop, not really so much. You want to get all those frames because you paid for them, and there's plenty of room and there's plenty of power going into that thing. You shouldn't really need all that stuff unless you're playing like a more demanding game or your hardware is a little older. So why wouldn't you? This is nothing but a win across the board. Steam wins because that's another platform to be on. Makes their platform more valuable. The Xbox wins because there are going to be some people who normally wouldn't have thought to buy that, who would have just gone PlayStation all the way, who would actually take a look and be like, oh, I can play my Steam games, or I could play Steam on that thing and not have to drop all this money on a computer because I don't really want a computer. I want a console, but this console is going to play that. That's interesting. Let me take a look. And the other thing that's really driving before we get to that, it's going to make money for Microsoft in the long run because that's more Windows devices making Windows and DirectX more valuable. That's more information they can sell. That's more people in the Windows ecosystem. And once you're in the Windows ecosystem, you're a hop, skip, and a jump from being in the Xbox ecosystem. Even if you never install Game Pass, if you never install their app, if you come to Steam, you're making Windows more valuable. Let alone if you deign to buy an Xbox game on here, they make 70% off that anyway. So they don't really care where you buy their games. They prefer if you bought it on the consoles because they make 100% off that. But if they can make 100% off of 1 million copies or 70% off of 5 million copies, they're going to take the 70% off the 5 million copies easy because that's way more money spread out across different platforms, right? So it's a win-win-win. What was I going to say? Oh, and the thing that the PlayStation fans are really fretting about is, will Sony block their games from working on the thing? How would they do that? Somebody explain that to me. How would they do that? And Xbox is going to show up as a Windows device. And I heard some idiot, was it Reforge, talking about, I'm sorry, Reforge, I don't mean to call you an idiot, but you do be saying some out-of-pocket things, right? How and why would they want to do that? I thought the whole point of PlayStation putting their games on PC was to attract more people to their games and thus to their ecosystem, right? Why does it matter where people... That would be an ultimate coup for them. If they can attract fans to their IPs through their competition, the same way Microsoft is farming PlayStation users with Xbox games on PlayStation, why wouldn't they do that? And they don't have to even lift a finger. They don't have to port anything. They don't have to make any backdoor deals or any backdoor or public deals with Microsoft for it. Their games would instantly have Xbox ports without them even doing anything. And they won't be screamed at by their fans for porting those games over either. They're already made for the PC. They're already going to play on Xbox. You're going to sell more games. People are going to be like, oh, there's that God of War game I keep hearing about. I have an Xbox, but I can play it, though. Awesome. They're going to come to Steam. They're going to buy it, and they're going to play. It makes the Xbox more valuable. It makes the Windows more valuable and DirectX more valuable. It makes all that more valuable to have all those users. Somebody intentionally bought an Xbox to install Steam to play a PlayStation game on there. Why would PlayStation turn that down? That's a sale that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And it's already ported. It'll already work. They didn't have to do anything. It already plays on your Steam Deck. Why would they block it from happening on an Xbox? That's free money for them without doing anything. Who was the ex-president of Sony that said making PC ports is a license to print money? Having your already made license to print money games suddenly show up on your competition's box while your competition's doing the same thing to you, that's a win-win-win. And as we saw, Sony can't really afford to do it. Anything free that they could take, they'll do it. If the $1 trillion company wants to sell your games for you, why wouldn't you let them? Why wouldn't you let them? This whole exclusivity thing, that's done. That's done. Forget about it. That is done. And at most, if you get an exclusive game on your precious little box, it's going to be on there for a month, maybe 6 months tops, and then it will be shotgunned everywhere. As we saw in the Nintendo Direct, Patapon 1 and 2, and what was the other older PlayStation game? There's another older PlayStation game that Bandai Namco is licensing that they're releasing on the PC, and they're here on Steam already. If they had a problem with it, they wouldn't allow any of that to happen. But imagine playing Patapon 1 and 2 through Steam on your next Xbox. Why wouldn't they allow that? That's an extra sale. That's getting those games' names out. Have people looking for those next games that they're going to release. And they didn't have to do a damn thing. They didn't have to do anything. All they did was presented the contract to Bandai Namco, and Bandai Namco found the terms good. They signed it. Boom. Now your thing is on like 4 other platforms without you even doing anything. Why would they not want that? And for you, the consumer, we're not talking about these big companies. We're talking about you, the consumer. What benefit would that have for you as a PlayStation player? For one, that's more brand recognition for you guys. That's more money coming in for Sony to help keep those lights on. You know. I'm not saying 154 billion is not a lot of money, but it ain't 3 trillion. I know that much. Okay? See this green? See this big ass number right here? See these 52-week highs? $468 per share versus 28. It's right at its peak. Right now it's peaking about as high as it ever did. Oh, it had its peak a couple weeks ago. Okay. $25 a share versus 468. Okay. So if this company is willing to sell your games for you and market for you, they're going to do it, bro. I'm sorry. I am sorry. Okay. So here we go with this, right? And that's the Rainbow Six Siege thing. Okay. So in conclusion, it's nothing but good. This is the way of the industry. Even Nintendo is bowing down to it. You don't believe me? Nintendo, Pokemon, iOS and Android, and Switch. Nintendo has a variety of Pokemon games available on Nintendo Switch and mobile, including battle simulators, trading, and more. Pokemon Champions. This game. Developers, The Pokemon Works. Publishers, The Pokemon Company, Nintendo, and Nintendo of America. Platforms. Wait, what? Nintendo, isn't this coming out for iOS? This is, yep. Reduce motion. Why is it not saying here? Here it is. Cross-platform battles alongside your favorite Pokemon on Nintendo Switch and mobile. Published by Nintendo. Even Nintendo knows. So remember when Microsoft said we consider Google and Apple our competition, not PlayStation? Microsoft does not consider PlayStation and Xbox their competition. They consider mobile their competition. Because look at that. That's what's competing with the Switch and the Switch 2. Okay? So things have already changed. That ship sailed, friends. Stop hanging on to that. Okay? Dude, we're up to 39 minutes. I did not mean for this video to last so long. But you see what I'm saying. And check this game out. PlayStation Publishing. Guest Pass Edition. I'm going to download this. Oh, wait. I had to do this on my Killing Floor and PUBG. And it's a card game. In early access, published by PlayStation. You guys ever known a PlayStation to ever publish an early access game on Steam? Ooh, this actually looks pretty good. Yeah, man, Killing Floor. and PUBG. Oh, wow. Hang on, I'm actually have to fire up my actual client here. Hang on one sec. Midnight Murder Club Guest Pass Edition. Free. I'm going to install that bad boy. There was an error while displaying in the EULA. Hey, Sony. There we go. All right. So yeah, there we go. Hey, you guys, thanks for watching. If I miss anything, please let me know in the comments. I did not mean for this video to last so long. Y'all be good. What do y'all think? Please come back and patch up any holes that I left while I was patching up the other holes. Don't fall for all the propaganda out there. Don't fall for all the fanboyisms. That shit is out the window, man. All these people are being sensationalists, and they're capping for this company. What's up with all these people capping for companies? People capping for Disney. People capping for PlayStation. It's just it's ridiculous. If companies are on some bullshit, call them out. And I'm not a PlayStation hater. PS1 and PS2 were amongst some of the most peak of gaming. I have a PS5 sitting right there. Okay? I'm not against PlayStation. I love what PlayStation used to be. I hate what they've become. I hate what they've become. I can go on and on and on and on. And maybe I will. Maybe I will make another video out of that. I'm thinking about making some reaction videos too as well. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what holes I missed in my plot or my argument or whatever, my dissertation, my TED Talk. Oh, hey, there it is. My PlayStation game finished downloading on my PC right behind me there. But yeah, y'all be good. I'll talk to you later. Peace out.